podcast for marketers focused on finding and targeting their ideal customers at scale. I'm your host, Monique Ruiz. Today's episode of the podcast is releasing in May, which means summer is only 1 month away, and most retailers across the country are getting their holiday campaigns planned. Real estate and construction are at their peak, the auto industry is pre prepping for the fall rush of sales, and the healthcare industry is dealing with everything COVID 19 and the administration of vaccines. Because it's such a busy time for all industry marketers, we decided we needed to have an episode that focused on all things multi channel marketing execution. This covers everything from constant communication with existing customers, whether that's educational, branding to increased loyalty, or upselling on other goods and services, all the way to prospecting to new potential customers. You'll hear from a Claritas client favorite, Maria Papadimas, who works directly with our clients to deliver winning campaigns to their best customers and prospects. Plus, we're lucky enough to have Keith Kaufelt, who's a strategy and marketing manager at VCU Health. He's going to provide a different perspective for us today, considering he works in the healthcare space, which, as you all know, is dealing with one of the biggest health crises we've seen in our lifetime. So, we're intrigued to hear how he and VCU Health are juggling being an important role of educator, advocate, and salesperson to what's probably a very polarized crowd of people. First up, though, I mentioned we have Maria Papadimas joining us. She is a project manager on our ad ops team here at Claritas, and as I mentioned, a client favorite. So, Maria, welcome to the Marketing Insider.
Thank you, Monique, for having me. I'm excited to be part of the Marketing Insider podcast.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. So, I didn't really explain what you do here at Claritas. So, before we jump into the set of questions that I have for you today, can you explain to our listeners what your role is and what you do on a daily basis to ensure customer success?
Sure, Monique. Simply, my role here at Claritas is to ensure that our client's digital plan of action is executed successfully from start to finish. So, I develop and oversee online marketing strategies for businesses ranging from small to large corporations.
And then I mentioned in my introduction that it's a busy time for marketers. Busy time for you, busy time for me, busy time for all marketers, especially as many of them are already starting their holiday campaign planning. And part of what marketers do on a daily basis is execute multi channel marketing campaigns. But for those that are maybe just starting out in the business and kind of learning as they go, or for those that are currently focusing on single channel marketing, can you explain what exactly does it mean to have a multi-channel marketing campaign strategy?
Sure. Multi-channel marketing is the process of interacting with prospects across websites, digital ads, social media, direct mail, catalogs, email, mobile, or any other channel chosen by the prospect.
Hmm.
Marketing your products and services on a single channel is just not enough for today's consumers. Your prospects wants to have the options of shopping in store, via mobile, or even by phone with a sales rep.
Yeah, and so you mentioned single channel marketing isn't enough, but tell me, why is it important to have a multi-channel campaign strategy as part of that overall go-to-market approach? I mean, can you not just focus on a single channel, especially when you have platforms like Instagram, for example, where you have the potential to reach a large audience without actually putting any ad dollars behind it?
Monique, that's a great question. Utilizing multiple channels throughout a campaign can help the advertiser improve connections, leads, and conversions.
Hmm.
When you're able to connect with your target audience in ways that fit their unique needs and preferences, they might be more likely to purchase from you and your company.
Okay.
Needless to say, multi channel marketing is important for the simple reason that you must be where your customers are, and they're everywhere. If you need another reason, consider this. Multi channel customers spend 3 to 4 times more than single channel customers do. There is no doubt that customers today have much more control over the buying process than marketers do. Thanks to the large number of available channels, customers have more choices than ever when it comes to know when they want to get information.
Hmm.
Today, there are more ways to reach customers, both in terms of numbers and variety of channels than we could have ever imagined not so long ago. And as the number of channels continues to rise, and it will, the need to embrace multi channel marketing will become not only a good idea, but a critical one.
Yeah, that's definitely a reason to rethink your strategy if you are only marketing on a single channel right now. Because if customers are spending 3 to 4 times more when they're seeing you show up on the various channels that they interact with, then that's definitely the approach you need to take to actually maximize your ROI. Because let's face it, nobody in today's age is only on Facebook or only looking at direct mail. And if they are, they're probably not in the market for what you're selling anyways.
Yeah.
Now that we know multi-channel is the way to go, what would you say are your top 3 to 5 best practices for successfully executing a campaign across multiple channels?
So it's not enough to just be present and make sure of the different channels. No, no. There are certain measures that need to be considered to give your multi-channel marketing the biggest chance for success. Here's some of the best practices that I recommend. First, as you may all know, is just have a clear goal. Very important. So every campaign has a different goal, right? It could be to gather leads or increase engagements, whatever it may be. You have to have a clear understanding of your goals so you can plan every part of the campaign to help you best meet them. Second, also very important, is know your audience. Do a bit of research using either previous campaigns, customer feedback, or demographic information to build a clear image of your target market. The more relevant and targeted a message is to a user, the more likely they are to engage with it. Be consistent. Consistency, this is very, very important to any digital marketing or to any marketing plan that you are about to execute. Consistency is vital when it comes to carrying out a successful multi-channel campaign. Each channel you use should offer your user a consistent experience across each of them in terms of messaging.
Mhm.
And last but not least is measure success. With multiple channels in play, it is vital to continually measure results carefully throughout the duration of the campaign. Planning a successful multi channel marketing plan takes time and effort.
Yes. What are some emerging or underutilized channels that marketers should really consider when they're adding things to their marketing mix?
Sure. So, as we all know, every business is different. Therefore,
Hmm.
before you can determine the most effective digital marketing channels for your business, here are some key factors to consider. And I tell my clients every time is what is your brand? What are your business goals? What are your marketing goals? Where is your target audience? And what is your budget? So, all digital marketing channels play a role in the solution for a business and harmoniously play off one another. Although the most effective digital marketing channel for your business will depend on the considerations I outlined before. However, here are the four most effective digital marketing channels that are trending and have been shown to generate considerable results as of now. Um, those are video marketing, email marketing, social media, and content marketing.
Okay, true. Those are all good points. What is it like when you work with clients who've never really had a great process in place for executing multi-channel campaigns?
So here is just an example of a plan that typically includes, right? So first you want to have a detailed customer profile and relevant marketing channels for each. Objectives for acquiring or retaining customers, the integrated marketing communication channels to be utilized across multiple platforms and devices to attract and convert customers. And lastly, is just measure those results. So having those things in place will ensure that your plan will be executed successfully and you will get the results that you're looking for.
So, we've been chatting best practices and how to know if you're working with the right execution partner, if you're doing things right as an advertiser, but no process is perfect. So, Maria, are there any areas where campaign delivery and execution is still weak? I think that would be helpful to listeners and kind of having their expectations set.
Yeah, so if the metrics are not aligned with your campaigns, you could be misled by the data. There are a lot of indicators of success when it comes to digital marketing, such as boosting brand recognition, elevated sales, improved conversions, more customer engagement, just to name a few. So pick the wrong metric and it's easy to chase the rabbit down the wrong hole. It is important to track the right metric for individual campaigns and make sure you have got realistic goals in place.
Not to stay on a negative for too long, but I do want to make sure that those listening at home really do know all sides of the coin. So, what are some common mistakes that organizations are doing when they're advertising across channels?
The first mistake I see is people using social ads to sell too quickly. They create an ad that pushes call audiences directly to a sales page to sell something right off the bat. It is too fast and completely inappropriate, and it violates one of the golden rules of social media advertising. You must give before you ask. You need an intermediate step for lead generation in which you provide something of value in advance. This is the start to a conversation you can use to build a relationship you can nurture. Then, when people are ready to buy, they're most likely to do so from you.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that more than once when scrolling through my own social feed. But Maria, we are long out of time. So I'm just going to ask you one more question before we go to commercial break. And then we're going to come back with our second guest, Keith Kaufelt of VCU Health. So let's end on a high note. Can you share a story of someone who has done multi channel campaign execution right?
Yeah. Like we say before, customers use different platforms, so you have to do the same if you want to reach them. One case study that stands out is what our client, All True Credit Union, they came to us early last year as the start of the pandemic with a goal of identifying current and potential members in the market for auto loans and wanted us to deliver campaigns to them through social and digital display ads, plus measuring the results of those campaigns to optimize their engagements on future deployments. We ended up helping them with the campaigns, which we delivered through Facebook and Google display ads mostly, and they were able to see their auto loan landing page, new visitor traffic increased by an amazing 623% over the prior year, plus attribute over 100 conversions in 3 months to their campaign. The best stat of all is they hit above their long goal every month since working with us.
And we love to hear results like that.
Yeah.
Maria, thanks again for joining me on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me. It was also a pleasure, Monique.
Today's conversation has been a long one, so we had to take it to the blog. Visit our website, www.claritas.com, and click on the Insights tab. There you'll find a drop down menu with blog as an option. Click on it to find our latest addition to the Beyond the Episode blog. That way you can hear even more from this month's episode of The Marketing Insider. We're talking more best practices and smart tech that will help you on your path to identify your best customers, deliver more impactful campaigns across channels, and measure those results so you're always refining your strategy to get the highest ROI. So remember, click on the blog section on the Insights tab at claritas.com to find Beyond the Episode. And now, back to the podcast. We're back from our commercial break, and I'm now joined by Keith Kaufelt, a strategy and marketing manager at VCU Health, an academic medical center on the forefront of healthcare, providing patients with the most progressive treatments and medical technology available. Keith, welcome to the Marketing Insider.
Hey, Monique, thanks for having me.
Of course. So, this is your first time as a guest on our podcast, and I think probably the first professional in the healthcare sector that we've had. So, would you do me a favor and tell our listeners in your own words what you do at VCU Health and maybe expand a little bit upon what VCU Health as a whole does?
Sure. I specifically oversee our enterprise social media channels. That includes everything from content strategy, governance, policy, and really runs the gamut across a bunch of different entities that kind of all come underneath the VCU Health umbrella.
Hmm.
And in my role, that kind of is very social specific, but I also get involved in a number of other projects across different segments within our team, whether it's digital, executive enterprise, PR. So it's been an interesting time to be in healthcare. But VC Health as a health system is, of course, tied to Virginia Commonwealth University. We're the health system arm. So that includes both our health system where we're seeing our patients, but also our education and research components with our college and for health sciences schools. We have, of course, our main campus downtown in Richmond, Virginia, which is a academic medical center, but we have satellite clinics and other hospitals throughout the state of Virginia. Really, VCL's expanded and grown even just the short time that I've been here. And we're actually completing two major projects in Richmond to complete an inpatient children's tower for our children's hospital and a new adult outpatient pavilion. And again, opening clinics all around the state. So it's been a pretty exciting time too.
Nice. Some pretty cool stuff happening. Let's jump into the episode though. So, this month we're talking all about multi channel campaign execution or multi channel marketing. And in the wake of the pandemic, digital has definitely had a major surge in popularity, in part due to necessity, but also because it's sort of been trending in that direction. And tell me from your perspective, how does social media, since that is a big focus of yours, fit in VCU Health's overall marketing strategy? And do you work with other marketing functions in your organization to create a coordinated process flow?
I'm sit in the Department of Strategy and Marketing, and that, of course, houses our enterprise and executive comms team, internal comms, digital, PR, social, runs the gamut. And we're a pretty tight knit team, so I work pretty cross functionally with everyone, including, and then, of course, people outside of our department. But social plays a really important part. It really is one of the few places where you consistently have that two-way communication. We don't just get to, throw up a display ad. We're going to hear very quickly what people think about it. We kind of use it as a digital front door and a place where we can have some meaningful and authentic conversations. We can be a little bit more fun there. But in terms of our cross-functional work, our digital team has grown. We've also grown some of our other departments. And so we've been working more and more closely together to make sure that as campaigns go to market, that we're integrating both the creative, the copy, the look and the feel and the tone, and who we're actually going to reach, so that we do have those different touch points. So whether someone's on our social channels and they get served an ad or a piece of organic content, that it also may align with what we're doing, whether it's with paid search or display, or if it's something that our agency of record has put in place, that there's always a social component in addition to whether there's being a TV component or a print component.
Yeah, there's definitely perks to having a larger marketing team or just a marketing team in general where there's opportunity for more specialized roles. But at the same time, it can get a little bit tricky when you do need to coordinate with those other teams to make sure that you're not going to market with different messaging. So glad to hear that you guys have a good process in place. And that's definitely what we all strive to achieve. But what platforms are you utilizing for your social strategy? And do you find that certain platforms do work better for different purposes?
Yeah, so our main kind of bread and butter, which would be familiar to most, is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Those are kind of our
Okay.
predominant drivers. Of course, we're eyeing others, but that's where we kind of stayed. And Facebook has been really great for that community component. We can really put almost anything there and reach our core audience, who are going to be those healthcare decision makers. Instagram, of course, being highly visual, allows us to, just show off both our events, our campus, our cool technology, some of the spaces that, people may not get to see and get access to in a health system that are really cool and interesting, that kind of drive, from a thought leadership perspective, even the fact that we are a top tier educational research academic medical center. And then, of course, Twitter has been great for all of our newsworthy content. We have a great public affairs team that writes amazing stories, whether they're patient stories or research, and that's just been a great driver to communicate those news updates to the right audiences, and also pick up on any earned content that we have out there. And then, of course, LinkedIn, I think about 2 years ago, me and another colleague actually took it upon ourselves to work with our talent acquisition and HR teams to start building out more of an employer brand that had not existed before.
Hmm.
And that include a lot of work with LinkedIn specifically, as it has grown over the past couple of years, to really elevate the channel that we had there. So, of course, we do a lot of thought leadership content there, because it's a great peer-to-peer space. But then also a ton of employer brand and recruitment work that's still in process and going on in that space.
Yeah, that's a good call up. I like that you talked about the different distinctions of what each platform serves for VCU Health. And then speaking of knowing what's working and what doesn't, though, do you guys handle everything in house, or do you work with data partners at all? And is there a reason why you do or why you don't, if that's the case?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting time. We've been kind of transitioning a lot of work and bringing a lot more in-house as we've been able to add an additional talent to the wider marketing team and also leverage new tools that we have. So we have worked with partners in the past in terms of getting campaign data and reporting, but we've brought a fair amount of that in-house, and we're still on a journey to improve that and using new tools, bring together data. So even from, previously we relied pretty heavily on data that we got through just the back end of each platform and their native
Mhm.
analytics, and doing some more manual pulls of that data to put a story together. But, using some different connectors, we're really trying to rely on API connections now to work with some of our other team members to build dashboards where we can automate a lot of those processes and get a little bit more in terms of that data collection and how we harmonize it, how we display it, to make it a little bit more useful and a lot less man hour put into it to even get the data. A lot of that data is coming in house, and we've done that predominantly just so we can have a little bit more control over it.
Mhm.
But we still also rely on some external partners to assist with that too.
Yeah, I mean, we always advocate for having data partners if you can, but because it's hard to do everything and do it well. But at the same time, as you said, it's not impossible, especially if you have that internal infrastructure and you do have the team who can kind of handle the different aspects. And of course, budget's always a factor, so that's something to consider for some folks.
Definitely. And the automation aspect of it too has been critical. And we if we were trying to do all this in a much more manual process, it would never
Yes.
happen.
Right. Right. So when it comes to engagement, how do you guys engage with those that are engaging with you through your digital channels? I know you spoke a little bit about the different purposes for your different platforms, but do you find yourselves kind of focusing more on the educational aspect, branding, or actively recruiting, so to speak, new patients? How are you engaging?
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-prong approach. So from a our ongoing social content, one of the things that I've strived for is to be viewed as a helpful health partner, so that
Mm,
we're providing a lot of health information for free. So a lot of our content is driven around, nutrition, healthy eating. Here's some tips you
hmm
can use. Here's a recipe. Here's um, an interview with a physician on this topic that may be useful to you, so that while most people don't plan to have a health issue, it's more about building that relationship through our social channels, so that when they do have a health issue, we're top of mind and already have formed a relationship digitally with them, so that we can hopefully carry that favor over into them becoming a patient and getting care from the amazing physicians and providers that we have here at VCU Health. So that's one, is that kind of that ongoing push of communication. Then, of course, when we're doing our paid and digital assets, we are targeting very specifically for specific health issues that people may be in the process of going to search about or to learn
hmm
about. And maybe VCU Health wasn't a consideration, but by making sure that we're doing some targeting with that content on not just our social channels, but whether it's search or display or anything else, that we're meeting them wherever they are, so that they can learn about those services that we offer, so that we can then support those service lines for the health system.
Yep.
Specifically with social, it's really, again, that two-way conversation. So we're always trying to not do such a hard sell on social. We're really trying to form that authentic relationship as best we can, and make sure that we're not just shoving content into people's faces, but also
Yeah.
responding to what they say. So we have a whole reputation management process in place. We have a social media matrix in place to respond to, whether it's a crisis or someone thinks we're doing great. We have it all kind of laid out so that we can handle it and respond to it, so we're not just screaming into the void.
That's awesome. I like to hear that the process you guys have in place. It sounds very considered. It works, and again, that's something that we all strive to achieve as marketers. So you guys, kudos to you guys.
Yeah, it took a while, but when we look
Yeah.
at, someone has a negative experience with us losing that patient, not just from, that's not something we want to have happen ever, but also
hmm
from a cost perspective, to lose that patient can be significant if they never want to come back to one of our facilities because of
Right.
that experience. So even from a reputation management perspective, it's been so key for us to make sure that we're constantly on top of it. So it's
Yep.
24/7. It never ends.
Yeah, good point. You talked about it a little bit, and you're bringing more of this in-house. But do you do kind of formal or informal measurement or analysis on the campaigns that you run? Kind of walk me through that process for you guys.
Yeah. So from a social perspective, anytime we do a campaign with more legs to it that's a little bit longer reaching, we typically will pull those reports, and especially anytime we're doing a paid component for a campaign. And they're all really goal specific. So it really depends on what was the point of doing this in the first place. So if it was
Yep.
that brand awareness campaign, we're going to be, of course, looking at things like impressions, ad recall, engagement on those. Whereas if it's much more of a lead generation campaign where we're trying to get some qualified leads, we'll be looking at that as our main metric and KPI. So whether it's the landing page views, and then in concert with working more now with our digital team, understanding how those leads came in, how did they convert into an appointment. And so for those larger multi-channel marketing campaigns, we're doing much more robust reporting on those campaigns. So we've been pretty intentional going forward to make sure that if we're going to do a paid campaign of any kind, what was the goal for that campaign, so we can make sure that we tie that into a measurement section to know from the get-go what was the KPIs we're looking for.
I'm just glad that you said that you guys do actually measure the success of your campaigns. But Keith, I think looking at how long we've been speaking here, I could keep you here all day, but let me go ahead and ask you one final question on today's topic before we wrap up.
Sure.
Are there channels that you're currently not utilizing that you're hoping to incorporate in the future for VCU Health?
Yeah, there's a ton. um, it's do we have the manpower to do it
Right.
is the thing. Specifically from a social perspective, where of course TikTok is a thing. I've seen some really awesome stuff happening there within healthcare. I see a lot of healthcare entities that have dipped some toes, and I don't think did it really well. I don't think they get it yet.
Hmm.
So we're eyeballing that, but then also Clubhouse, audio first social is
Yep.
interesting to us. We do have a podcast, the Healthy with VCU Health podcast. That's already something we're doing, but how does that maybe that transfer to some other audio first social?
Hmm.
Um, Outside of social, we're doing other things. Like I know our digital team is testing some chat bots right now on our website. Me personally, if I'm thinking for the health system about some other things that would be cool, is how do we integrate with things like Alexa? How do we do that type of search and make sure that we're in that space? So there's a ton of stuff that I think all of us within our department are looking at and thinking is cool. I think it can be a trap that a lot of us can fall into, is look at all the shiny new things that are out there that we could get
Right.
involved with early without understanding really what are they about and what is the community that is there and using it really use it for. And then also, do we have the either the external or internal support and power needed to actually do it well. So we always, of course, are playing that game of understanding, what is the cost benefit? Do we have the time? So those are just some of the things that I know that I'm looking at, and some of the things I know our team and our digital team and their leaders have been looking at.
Yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout for what's next with you guys. But to do so, we got to know, where can our podcast listeners go to learn more about what you do and how VCU Health can help them stay healthy and informed in today's environment?
Yeah, so they can visit our website, check out that new chatbot. I am on LinkedIn, so people can always connect with me there. I love making new connections. And then our social channels for VCU Health are all at VCU Health.
Awesome. Thanks again, Keith, for joining me on today's episode of the Marketing Insider.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you again to my guest today, and thank you to those of you listening at home or on the go. If you've not already, go ahead and take a moment to follow the Marketing Insider so you never miss an episode. Rate us 5 stars on your podcast app of choice, our favorite being Spotify, and share us with a friend or colleague so we can keep the conversation going. We'll see you next time with a brand new episode. Bye now.